What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 13th episode of Trench Talk. I'm here with my usual co-hosts, LTR and NRV. How are y'all doing today?
13, bro. That's crazy.
I know, we're
I
getting
wasn't
old over
counting.
here.
Is it really? No, it
Getting
ain't
old.
13, bro. That sounds
It is
unlucky.
13. It's 13. We're
If
officially
that's
reaching
true,
monk status.
if that's true, that makes a lot of sense, bro. It's been a pretty fucking unlucky week. I'm not gonna lie. Stock market taking a nosedive. ETF kind of underwhelming. Crypto dumping. Yeah. I'm chilling in spot, as people would say. How you doing, LTR?
I'm doing good. I agree. It's kind of been a slow week. We had a really hot week, the week before this week, I would say, and a couple weeks leading into that. I felt like the end of July. Well, it is the end of July, but middle of July was pretty good. And stock market was ripping, everything's ripping, Solana's ripping, and suddenly we seem to have hit this wall because the ETH ETF finally came. A lot of people are disappointed, and so like that disappointment I think is being shown in the charts, coupled with like NRV said, the stock market. So I've just been kind of chilling. I mean, you got to know when to step on the gas and when to step on the brakes.
It's valid. I've been doing all right. I've been mostly allocated to Solana at this point, just because, I don't know, I like it more. ETH is just stupid and dumb to me at the moment, and I just see just so much more runway on Solana. So it's just been performing better as well as a coin, so it's been really nice. But
Yeah,
anyways,
I think I've been seeing a lot of stuff. Well, not seeing. I mean, I've been hearing stuff with people that I sit in voice chat with, talking DMs with, but also other people on podcasts. Like for example, Easy Eats. I listen to their podcast. Shout out to one of our prior guests. People just talking about how, especially on the back end of how the ETH ETF stuff has gone. Granted, I think things will look good for ETH down the line. It's just a lot of uncertainty right now. A lot of people are just looking at Solana through and through. It's just a much better place to put your money for like a short to midterm return compared to ETH.
yeah, I just think the trade's better. And then my whole thesis on crypto has always been, where are people making the most money? That's why I'm in crypto. That's why I invest in crypto. And I just feel like that's on Solana. So there's obviously things that are leading up for Solana. There's people having way more of an enjoyable time on trading on Solana. There's just so many green check marks. And then all I see on ETH is just despair, honestly. And I agree with you that, I do think it really is just following what happened with the BTC ETF timeline price-wise. I agree with that. But it's just, I don't know, it's just so much more fun and enjoyment on Solana, and ETH I just see nothing but despair.
Well, I think one of the important points you mentioned there was just that you're in this space to make money, and I feel like too many people virtue signal that they're not. Like, would any of us truly be here if there was no money to be made? I think that's an interesting thought experiment and question as far as like crypto Twitter at large. And I think it would just be, I mean, obviously like some Bitcoin maxis and whatever, but as far as the bulk of crypto Twitter, I think it'd just be gone. I mean, or maybe it'd be as sad as NFT Twitter.
I can see like some people genuinely like believe this space is, like Web3 is actually gonna be a thing, but especially like us trading in the trenches, we're here for money. That is the only reason why we are here. We are not here to build. We are just here to, it's very good income, and it's gambling with an edge. That's how I describe it as.
Or even the people that build, though, are they building to build, or are they building to eventually make money? I mean, it's just like
Great
I feel
question.
like it's circular in motion, right? Like, do you build this layer 2 because you think it's the future of Ethereum, or do you build it so you can get huge checks from investors? And that's being pretty cynical of me. I understand that, but I do think we just have to be more transparent about, like, yeah, I mean, I'm here to make money, and if that dries up, I can go to some other market. But right now, like you said, Solana trenches are the easiest and best way to make a lot of money from a little money.
Yeah, it's just a completely different trading style too. I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. I mean, I do personally. A lot of things on ETH tend to slow cook and do well over time. Granted, I mean, the volume in general is a lot lower. New pairs on ETH are just not as attractive, and I think like what it's caused is like much more PvP on ETH on those new launches. So it caps the upside on good coins. Like you have to be a very good coin, or have supply control, or have KOLs that are not going to destroy the coin in order for it to do well, or just have a ridiculous narrative, like, I don't know, something like Miggles, for example, that we can talk about later. But going to Solana and being a trader like I am, I mean, I tend to have this like ridiculous level of optimism that if a narrative looks good, the coin looks good, and it's unique, I think it can do well. But the reality is people are very PvP on Sol, and they're very quick to move from one thing to the next, and a coin can die like 5 times before it actually moons. And there's a ridiculous number of examples with that. So understanding the dynamic between both chains and knowing how to play each trade it's definitely a skill set that comes over time, and admittedly it's something I still struggle with. But I've hit massive cooks on Sol. I found that for me it's best to like be patient on Solana, to wait for something to be very obvious from a narrative perspective, instead of just trying to play like the pump fund new pairs, trying to grind things out. I think that's just where I like slow bleed out. You can't force plays to happen. That's
the
just
people that are
where I make
grinding
my
the pump
mistakes.
phone like 24/7. That's basically just a 9 to 5, but it's even worse. So it's like, I'm in crypto, so I don't have to work like a 9 to 5 like that. So if I had to sit at my computer all day and just grind pump funds like that, I don't think I could. Shout out to the people that do that. I mean, there is good scalping money to be made, but I've never been a scalper, frankly. So it's just not the style for me. And I do think that speaks to your point, NRV, is like people just have to find their own style, and what you see on Twitter might not fit you, and that's okay. Like you just have to find your own niche and attack that until it doesn't work anymore.
For sure. I think there's a time and a place with it too. Like if you have a smaller wallet, like yeah, maybe it does make sense to grind stuff out like that, even though I think you can grind yourself to zero. I think it's best in general to just like wait and be patient for something like fairly obvious to come out. You just ride the momentum, ride the volume up. There's been tons of good coins, even lately, that are very obvious like that.
Yeah, like I'm personally trying to get better at holding, especially over the past week's been really prominent that people that have just held coins and forgot about them have won the biggest. Like I had a buddy that had 3% of that dark MAGA coin that ran at 50 mil, so that was absolutely an insane cook for him. And then
he actually held it all the way up.
I mean, like he started to slowly exit like around 50 mil. Like it was nuts.
Jesus.
Because I mean, it ran up in a day. Like you didn't have enough time to really fumble it. And one thing I will say is I agree on it being extremely PvP, and I also agree with, I see this really good narrative, I just want to moonshot it. And that was the case until the damn Miggles coin came out, which I think caught most people off guard.
Well, hold on. So let's talk about Miggles in a second. I think you mentioned Dark MAGA. We didn't actually even have, for our listeners, we prepared topics ahead of time for stuff we want to talk about. We didn't actually have Dark MAGA on the list. I think we have to talk about that, dude, because
yeah, we do.
To me, like that's a perfect example.
Right place, right time. Like wow.
Yeah, to me, that's a perfect example of a very clear narrative to buy into. And I saw a lot of people on the timeline and people close to me. I even had people DMing me. They're like, "Yo, you got to buy this. Like, this is a very obvious narrative." It took time for people to actually figure out where the PFP that was made for Elon Musk came from. Like, there were coins being launched on ETH, new coins being launched on Solana. You had I think an hour or two to buy into the Dark MAGA coin, like at the 5 mil level or something, before it actually ran up, before people realized where the PFP came from. But there are clear risks associated with that, and the most glaring one is yeah, if this guy changes PFP back, you're fucked. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe you get saved if Donald Trump changes his PFP to something similar, but the worst case scenario happened. But if he kept it, I mean, that narrative is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, but I also think, okay, Elon Musk changed his PFP, but like you said, what more is there after that? It was at 50 million, and it spiked to 80 million. So it's
I think
At
there was
what
more.
point
Dude.
is fair value? Like, I mean, that's just like this is hypothetical, right?
It's a risky buy because it's a pumped up fund and it went up so quickly. So for me, it's like, okay, this is tough to buy because there are probably 100 or more people that could literally just nuke this chart because the liquidity is so bad, like any other pumped up fund coin.
My gosh,
but
liquidity.
Yeah,
like we could talk about that too. How an 80 million coin has like
you said what else? You said like what else can happen or what other catalysts? Mark Andreessen changes PFP. You saw a senator changes PFP. You saw a lot of other people in the crypto community start to change theirs. For me, I made one for myself. I was like, I'm not going to do that and pause my verification badge type shit. And I'm also like, if this does go wrong, do I really want to be a sheep and have this shit there? There's so many people that were quick to change theirs back, but in a bull case scenario, if that shit kept spreading and he kept his PFP and more people, more politicians, and maybe Donald Trump put his, it could have gotten very big, dude. But it just got stalled out because he changed his back. You know what I mean?
It was rough. I think he changed it pretty early, and you had a lot of time to make X's. It was on a Sunday, so I just really wasn't locked in at all and wasn't paying attention. But yeah, it falls under the free money category in my opinion, just because I believe it was still low.
It was
when he did change his PFP. So if you were to see it at that low price, I mean, it's almost like just you have to punt, and then you just have to monitor like how strong the volume is, and it ran like just pretty hard, pretty fast. I think it. It was maybe like around 10, 11 a.m. my time, and then it ran throughout the rest of the day and throughout the entire night. And I think he changed his PFP back the next morning. I think,
and then it purged.
I think that's the timeline. Yeah, dude, the Euros that were asleep during that time, man, that just sucks.
I think to your point in that situation, like yeah, you do have to punt some, but when it hits its peak and starts to retrace a bit, and you're trying to think like, okay, it's going to go higher. You have to understand there are so many people that are up so big that can nuke it and ruin your position.
Psychology.
So I think, there were many people that bought that and went to sleep. You got to set a stop loss, set a limit sell. I even read a thread by this guy. I don't know if you guys saw this. This dude Chain Mind. I wasn't even following him earlier, but he wrote this whole thread about the trading dynamics in this space and how like 90% of this space is made up of traders who lose and like 10% of people consistently win. And he like shows this whole chart about where people buy, like, and the whole psychology around it. Like, so many people tend to just FOMO, dude. They buy the top, or they think after the top that they're buying the dip, but the dip keeps dipping. So yeah, it's good to punt, but understand the risk that you're taking and manage that shit. And if you're gonna fucking sleep on the bag, then set a stop loss.
I remember a great trader once said to me, because I was having a lot of FOMO over, I can't remember exactly what coin it was, but then he just said to me that means the market's working, because the market's job is to make you feel FOMO. The market's job is to make you want to FOMO or to give into that FOMO. So I think like Jez always says FOMO is the mind killer, right? Like from Dune or whatever, and I do think that's true. Like at a certain point, you just got to be like, I missed it. Yeah. So like you have two options, right? You either just like don't buy and then move on, or buy and not cope, but maybe possibly lose money. But FOMOing, I've never had good FOMO moments. Like I've never FOMOed into something and made a ton of money afterwards.
Me either.
I feel like FOMO is always
it's always scraps. Like, can you get a little piece off the bone, like just a little nibble, when other people are fucking like eating the entire animal? It's like, is it really worth it? I think the thing that's helped me not FOMO is, one, losing a fuck ton of money by FOMOing before. And I'll come out and say it, man. I FOMO'd a lot of ETH into the top of something before, and I've lost over 100 grand on a trade before. That was my worst loss ever. Well, investment wise, I mean, I've lost a lot by being up a lot on something and not selling. But investment wise and what I put in, I've lost over 100 grand before from FOMOing. So yeah, I think failure like that is one of the biggest teachers. But one of the other things that helps me, which is what I was getting to, is just the idea of when the market is this active, this hot, even if we're in like a little flash ETF uncertainty period, there are still new coins coming out that are just cooking insane. So like, just tell yourself, hey, I missed the trade. There's going to be another one. You don't have to play this one. Don't FOMO. Don't. If everyone's talking about it, don't feel like you have to be a sheep and jump in, because if you do that, you're probably exit liquidity like 90% of the time or more.
I was like, also just, it's so cliche to say, but there's always another. I mean, just think about the past 2 months with all the celebrity bullshit with Mother and everything, and that's gone now. Like, nobody's talking about Mother anymore. That coin ran to like 100 mil. And then DMAGA happened, and then nobody's talking about that really anymore. So it's like, there are so many opportunities, and just because you haven't hit one yet, I mean, I'm not the type to be like, oh, keep gambling, but at a certain point, it's like, if you're putting in the reps, you're due, right? And that's what I always say to myself if, like, I haven't hit something big in a while. I'll be like, oh, man, that just means I'm due. You know, I'm due for a hot night. I'm due for a great trade soon. And just having that mindset of positivity rather than just being like, oh, I'm never going to hit a big trade. You just got to stop that.
So you're telling me I shouldn't absolutely blast the top of this smoking chicken fish right now?
That one's a cult, bro. That one could go higher. I'm not even going to lie, but I'm not buying here.
Flying Spaghetti Monster just got some massive apes.
Yeah,
it's while we were on the pod.
Because smoking chicken fish is almost touching 40.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Flying Spaghetti Monster.
That's one thing, though.
If you're
I feel
listening
like
to the pod, it's a great beta play, not financial advice.
Shut the fuck up. I just saw you buy on the wallet tracker.
I was buying it while we started recording.
I saw it, and now you're chilling. Anyways, what I'm saying is, one thing that's an interesting point that NRV brought up with like liquidity is like, dude, Solana liquidity is horrible. So like this smoking chicken fish coin, yeah, it's at 40 million MCAP, but bro, people need to realize MCAP, market cap does not matter. Like if you're in a position with a large enough size, market cap does not matter. What matters is liquidity always. So like whenever I'm judging if a coin can double or triple from here, I'm judging based off the liquidity. So if like it has 20 million liquidity, it's going to be really hard for it to triple in price, no matter what the market cap is. And that's why Solana coins offer so much upside, just because the coin can be like 20 million and only have 500k in liquidity, which sucks if you're trying to exit a large position, but it also means it's much easier to hit higher X's off initial.
Yeah, it's really a game. I see it as a game, honestly, just because, you know, it doesn't really happen too often anymore, but there'll be like high like ETH coins, and you know, sometimes if you know it's safe or you'll see like the liquidity's burned, you know, I'd slam in 2, 3, 4, 5 ETH just to maybe just get those few percentiles, and that's like a nice gain right there, and it's easier to do. You couldn't do that like on a low liquidity coin. So these low liquidity Solana coins, it's definitely interesting because I've seen the pictures of people up like massive amounts, and it's just like you're never seeing that. You're never seeing that full amount. It's almost impossible.
Can we hammer in the point that UPNL is not BNL unless you hit like a bald and you can just dump 100k without any price impact?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's another thing is like people get so depressed like round tripping gains that are unrealized, but it's like ultimately, man, you're still in profit, and while it sucks to see that number go down, that number isn't actually real.
Yeah, I agree. It's just the stuff we deal with. It's just so much fun. I think we have to talk about Miggles. Also, because I want to build a position in there. Financial advice, completely financial advice. Will not lose.
You can't say that, bro. As long as the disclaimer is on our like Spotify page or our Twitter bio, which I don't think it is, but you got to do that.
If anyone's actually taking financial advice from this podcast, I worry for them.
As long as people make money on it, then it is financial advice, right? That's how it works.
Yeah,
if they've seen my wallet trading, they know it's not financial advice.
I'm not
That's
a
how
US
KOLs work, right? Good KOL, coin go up. Bad KOL, coin go down.
The only thing that I just want to say about Miggles, like in all seriousness, it was nice to see an actual narrative form, and it actually moon.
And it actually not have any bullshit insiders or KOLs fucking linked to it, man.
That
makes me happy, bro. That makes me happy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, nonetheless,
I think it's just.
I truly don't know. I truly don't know what's behind it, but I just know there's volume. I know that.
It's definitely controlled.
There's actual some general volume.
Whoever the team is, they did a great job. But what is interesting, though, is like we've had coins like this before, like Poseidon on BNB, and there were a few other on Coinbase, right? Like the bulldog from Coinbase, and those did not do well. And so it was really interesting to just see how much people latched onto this, especially when Base was so dead. Um,
So
and I
this
mean, it's good for the markets.
this one was a tough one for me, because I don't like missing plays, obviously, especially like when they're huge mooners on ETH. Like I miss a ton of plays on Sol. I didn't really miss this one. I'm up like about 80K on it right now at current price, but I still feel like I really missed it. Even though I was awake, I watched the trade happen. I watched people in my community and people in voice chat with me be up multiple hundreds of thousands on it, and also fumble a lot too. A lot of people papered, but it wasn't as clear cut as it could have been. Ultimately, this coin came out. If you don't know what it is, like Coinbase teased this commercial or something. I think they put a tweet out with like a teaser video with this Mr. Miggles cat, and they said tomorrow. It was like, I think it was on like July 16th, and they said Mr. Miggles is coming on the 17th. Be ready for tomorrow. And nobody really knew what it was. And then shortly after that, people rushed to ape.store is the website. It's basically one of the pump funds on Base. There's literally like 7 or 8 different platforms on Base that function as a pump fund platform, but I would say that one has pretty much established itself as a leader. There's been some great coins that have come out of other ones, like Basecamp. That one's been pretty good. That Based Milio coin came out of that one. But since then, Ape.store has, in my opinion, basically like established itself as like the pump fund leader comparator or comparison for Base. So that coin came out of there. It was just fair launch in that regard, but you can say quote unquote fair launch because obviously early buyers got a fuck ton of the supply. And for me, I was like questioning, well, first of all, like, what is this coin? Like, what does this mean? Is there actually a narrative here? This is really just like a meme that Coinbase kind of created, and somebody randomly made a coin about this, and the dev can just cheat it to nothing. And ultimately, they did. It got CTO'd, and you have this incredible team doing marketing and pumping a ton of money into pushing the coin now, but it wasn't clear that this coin would be the leader. There were other coins that launched, whether it was a new contract launch. I think another one came out of Ape Store. Maybe another one came out of a different pump fund platform like Basecamp, like I mentioned, or something else. But this one clearly established itself as a leader early. It died, and then it shot up to like 4 to 5 mil, and then it dipped down to like 2 mil or underneath. And I have a friend that bought 5 ETH at the lows late at night. And I went to bed, and I wake up like right after Coinbase had put out their full commercial and what they were doing, like paying creators, putting the internet online, exactly like what the meaning of Miggles is. And the coin just absolutely moonshot it. And I still felt like I missed it. I still felt like I was late. I ultimately didn't buy until like 25 to 30 mil range, but I put size in. I think it's okay to do that because that narrative is different. It's not going to go away. It's different from. It reminded me of MF coin, for example. Like that coin went high as hell. It went to 300 mil in a day, but that one does not and did not have the staying power that Miggles does. This is very meaningful for Base and Coinbase and what they're trying to build. I'll pause there because I've said a lot, but I think it's a very unique coin in that regard, but it wasn't obvious because it wasn't a coin launched by Coinbase, and they're not going to launch their own meme coin. You know what I mean? So you have to like take that into account.
People who think that are ridiculous just because it's a publicly traded
they can't
company.
But they may, they quote unquote can't. But
they can get people too.
There's a coin on Toby that people have done a crazy, and I had a lot of Toby. I sold most of it, but people have done a ridiculous amount of research to figure out who the hell the fucking dev of Toby was. And it's like 90% confirmed that it's a Coinbase employee. But it'll never like be confirmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's definitely Coinbase people that have bought or maybe have launched or are on the team of marketing this shit, but you'll never know it. They'll never confirm it because they can't.
Also, they have incentive to propagate this token, right? Because it's already at such a large market cap, and it's good for Base Chain to have it. So at a certain point, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, even if it wasn't Coinbase's coin, now they have more incentive to post more of the damn cat, right? Not that they have to acknowledge the coin per se, but by posting more of the cat, they drive more volume to their base chain and whatnot. But I do think an interesting point of what you said is that you put a lot of size in at like 30 mil. And like, I think Punlord was a great example of speaking about this, but you don't have to be early. You just have to make up for time with size.
Yes.
And a lot of times that's hard for people, I totally understand it. Like, it's very hard to size more into like volatile meme coins, but then you can't complain about missing it, I think. So it's like, yeah, if you weren't early, that's fine. You just have to make up with time with size. And that's just, it's almost like a math equation of crypto.
I've never heard it said that way, and that's perfect, in my opinion. I mean, that's how you make up for it.
You trade time for size.
Exactly. You increase your risk, and you make up for it by getting yourself that amount of supply. But, I mean, it has to be, like, you have to be pretty high convicted,
I totally agree.
And have a really strong narrative to do that.
Doesn't really work on Solana either, just because of liquidity. Like, at a certain point, it's like
Yeah.
I mean, even if you have a stop loss, that stop loss is for 100% of your position or whatever, so you're eating absorbent amounts of price impact at that point.
Yeah. I mean, with this coin, with Miggles, liquidity was basically identical to most of the pump funds from Solana. The difference there is how strong the narrative is. That's
also ETH has V3s and whatnot, right? I mean, Solana does technically, but
right now the V3 pool on Miggles is, I think it's like double, maybe more than double. I think it's.
I saw a lot of people LPing.
It's like double the LP of the V2 pool. It's crazy because there's a lot to talk about with that too. I also think it's interesting to talk about the V3 pools, or like the DLMMs and CLMMs on Solana. I think that's a topic we haven't talked about in this pod that we should, but it's more widespread because you have like Meteora, Radium, Orca, shit like that. So like you can't just see the one pool. I don't know if there's a site that can aggregate what it looks like, but it's easy to see it on ETH. But dude, like if you guys aren't doing that, you need to. I'm fine if you don't, because I do it when I have a lot of size in a coin, and I'm collecting a ridiculous amount of fees when I do it. I have friends that have made over 6 figures just in fees from LPing Miggles already. If you look at where it is, and when it's trading in a range like between, I don't know, call it like 60 to 100 mil right now, they just have an LP right there, and it's high volume, swinging up and down. They're collecting fees in ETH on base, and they're accumulating more Miggles. And I know some people that have made over 6 figures just by sitting there with their LP. It's an extremely smart play to make. You got to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's like harder. It's like one of those things that's daunting to look at. Like, you open up Uniswap V3, you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? But it's actually not really complicated. Like, once you get it down to it, you pretty much just set a range.
It just goes back to the stuff we talked.
Single-sided, yeah.
It goes back to the stuff we talked about in our early podcast.
People are lazy.
Exactly, having a growth mindset and a work ethic in this space. Like, if you're going to be in this space and have size in a coin, yes, if liquidity is low and your price impact is insane. Like, for example, you saw that guy earlier today dump like $2.2 million of whiff for Mumu. When he sold that amount, the value of whiff that he got out, it went from like 2.2 mil, and when he full stacked it out to swap into Mumu, the value was like between 1.5 and 1.6 mil. That's an absurd amount. So like, you can exit through a V3 and have no price impact. You have to understand that skill set and have the willingness to learn and do that.
I agree. It's all you need to be learning. And, I've been lazy. I still don't know how to use V3, and it's just because I have genuinely just not put any time into doing it. I get caught up just trading, and it really takes up all my time. Like, if you look at my wallet on Solana, I'm literally buying something maybe every 5 minutes. I'm a little chaotic sometimes. But
yeah, I mean, that's okay.
I don't know.
Okay,
I think Miggles is just it's not financial advice, but I think there's a lot of good behind it. It checks a lot of green flags, and at the end of the day, if Base wants their chain to prevail, it would probably help if the coin went up a lot. It's just
I agree.
How business works. So
it's quite public.
I'm putting bets.
It's quite public through our past pods and whatnot that we've talked about, that in our discussions around Brett, like, yes, it's great that Base has a coin that's over 1 bill, but it's extremely public and controversial in regards to how many insiders had access to that coin early on. And yes, Base has acknowledged Brett as a coin, and they've helped push it and have done campaigns and shit with it, but the reality is I don't think it looks good for their brand or sits well with the public and the people that they want to attract to their chain if that is the main leader. And to have a coin that literally came out of a fair launch protocol that was built on Base for a meme in a marketing campaign that they created that they can get behind and push, it's so glaringly obvious that they need to get behind this and push this. And if it doesn't do well, it's not going to look good for them. And I think it's also interesting because we can talk about that other coin on Base. I have no investment in it, but have you guys seen that Base CTO coin?
Yeah, I saw that. There were a ton of derivs that came out about that.
That's a funny coin. It's like,
it's funny.
If your chain fails, if you fail to push good memes or have good volume or anything on your chain, we're gonna CTO the entire chain ourselves. And by way of doing that, you can hedge it by buying this Base CTO coin. Like, their logo is like every Base meme, like Dog and Me, Ski Mask Dog, Beisenji, Toshi.
Chart ain't looking good.
All that shit. I mean, it's a good hedge to Base. Like, maybe it's good to buy like a couple ETH on the bottom of the Base CTO coin in case Miggles and Brett fail. If it ever dies, like, that one. I will say
one thing that's interesting about the Brett versus Miggles thing is that I saw way more people tweeting about Miggles and participating that than I have ever seen people tweeting about Brett or participating in that. So it's almost like, yes, is Brett at 1.5 billion, but how much of that is true? And I'm not even a Brett hater. I just mean like think about Pepe's run up. Man, you saw it everywhere on crypto Twitter because it was community. It was just like everyone is buying Pepe. Think about Mog. Like, Mog's at kind of similar levels. You see it everywhere, but you just don't see that with Brett. And it's just an interesting dynamic. I almost forget how high Brett is in market cap just because I don't see that equally on socials.
I agree. There's a lot of like organic interest for people to push Miggles. To me, Miggles should be like looked at as like a Pepe type of investment, specifically like siloed to Base. And I know that people have said that Brett is the Pepe of Base. The reality is Brett is a Pepe derivative. Miggles is something brand new, and there's a lot of organic engagement coming out of it. I think the upside is extremely high. I put my investment in between like 20 to 35 mil on a bunch of buys, and then later that day I think I clipped in another at like 60, and I was golfing and I put another like 2 ETH in at like 70, and then over the past 3 days I've put in like another 6 ETH across some of the lows between like 63 to like 63 to 70 mil. Right now it's at the time of recording at about 79 mil. The thing is too, like with the ETH ETF stuff, the stock market dumping, crypto market taking a fucking nosedive, it's really, really smart for, I mean, I assume you guys have watch lists, right? Certain coins you're looking at on Solana. Even if you're not invested into a coin, you're looking at the leaders, right? Like Mumu had a great day. Like, I have the Mumu tab or chart open. I'm watching that shit, you know? So when the market takes a dive, I think it's really important for you to look at how different coins and charts respond to a market that's just bleeding. Miggles has shown insane strength the entire way. And then there's other coins that have done it too, like Aura on Solana. Like, shit was just like shitting the bed, and Aura ripped to all-time highs to 50 mil. But throughout that as well, like, Miggles has looked extremely strong.
Yeah, it's just important just to look at what's showing strength while market's having downtrend. That's just kind of the overall of that. Miggles, Aura, Smoking Chicken Fish, like, all of them are just absolute, just super strong coins. And there's a lot of ETH coins as well that are kind of just sort of just a lot more ETH and a lot more Soul coins that are just strong and looking ready to break out. but I do think we should talk about the ETH ETF just because there seems to be a lot of mixed opinions and emotions on crypto Twitter right now. And I know we were talking about this before the pod, so if y'all want to just continue on y'all's thoughts about it, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. I'll start off. Well, obviously everyone was excited, but what's interesting is about a week ago, everyone recognized, okay, we have a lot of ETH overhang, and I'm not getting into the specifics of what ETH is because frankly, I'm not that smart. I don't know that much. I just know that there was like this BlackRock thing that you could buy ETH already, kind of on the stock market type thing. And so anyway, there's a ton of supply overhang that's being unlocked once the ETH ETF got passed, and I think we're seeing that unload because we're seeing a lot of inflow and outflow volume every day with the ETH ETF, but most of it is outflow currently. And so prices are down. People are depressed. They're like, oh, Ethereum ETF, it isn't working. It's not. But what people forget is the same thing happened with BTC. BTC had the same overhang, and the same things happened in like the first 2 weeks. And then eventually we got a bunch of positive flows, and then the market absolutely ripped. And while I'm not saying that's the same thing that's gonna happen, I am saying that it is interesting to see crypto Twitter panic over something they already knew was going to happen. And it's just so classic.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are too short-sighted in this case. I mean, there were other factors at play here, for sure. Many. I guess I'll start by saying I think people are too short-sighted looking at this sell-off. You have to understand that there are major banks involved with these ETFs. The issuers of them, but even outside of that, you have these financial investment firms that are managing people's money, their retirement investments. You have like pension funds and whatnot that can now get access to invest into these ETFs, and it is like extremely paramount and vital for an ETF of this magnitude to be successful. So these banks cannot afford for the ETH ETF to just die. What are we, like 2 days, 3 days in now? 2 days or whatever? I don't know. I lose track of time. I think people are being too short-sighted and too reactionary to it. I understand a lot of us have a lot of money here, and you have to react in the moment. And unfortunately, yeah, we're talking about in the trench on train trading. So there are reactions to your bags, and you have to protect that. But I think if you zoom out a bit, these banks and these firms cannot afford for these ETFs to be unsuccessful, and I think chilling in spot is probably a great play midterm. I'm not going to say long term. I think midterm, like up until the election or even going into or through next year, we'll see. But I think people are like being way too reactionary. But there were other factors at play. Like we have to address the stuff that was on Twitter today about that massive movement that people were saying was associated with the Ethereum Foundation. Like, what was it, like 92 or 96,000 ETH that was transferred from?
Yeah, 300 million worth.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly how much ETH that is, but
and the reality is like none of that was sold. You can see the wallet, at least from the time of recording, none of it was sold. But this happens a lot. Like when like an exchange wallet moves a bunch of like Bitcoin, or like if there was a hack from years ago that owns like, 2, 3, 500 million Bitcoin, and all of a sudden, people track those wallets, and all of a sudden there's a movement. Bitcoin's going to take a dive because there's this fear that they're going to move it to an exchange and sell it. So they just saw this wallet that was dormant for like 7 years become active with that much possible price impact on ETH. People that have a lot of money, the whales that are out there that we don't even know, that are probably not even trading on chain, they react, and then the market reacts, then it impacts our meme coins, blah, blah, blah. And then that's just going to look bad for the Ethereum ETF stuff. I just think it's important for people to zoom out a bit and understand how important it is for these ETFs to be a successful endeavor. The other thing, the last thing I want to say is there was a lot that people like us that listen to this pod or trade like we do that was not anticipated. It was just as simple as we're just looking at this as like a siloed ETF event and trying to look at outflows and inflows. But the reality is there was a lot of money that flowed out of the Bitcoin ETF into the Ethereum ETF. none of us are ETF experts. I don't think many people anticipated that dynamic at all and like how that would play into things. But there was a moment where actually the day it came out where like Bitcoin was going down and ETH was going up, which we rarely ever see. So I thought that was interesting.
It's definitely good to bring up. I mean, look, I'll admit, I just decided to look at it very simple. I don't know. To me, this is just what makes sense in my head. Obviously, because something different happened. Of course, I'm not saying like, oh, I knew this would happen, yada, yada, yada. But I was just, I don't know. ETH wasn't really strong showing up towards the event, in my opinion. You know, people were already talking about Solana, and Solana was just way stronger. And I was just like, it may underperform. Maybe the infos will be good. You know, people were just trying to suggest that, because it's smaller than BTC, people will want to buy ETH more. That's what I was hearing a lot of. And I was like, at the end of the day, it probably mimics the BTC ETF price movement, which
BTC
partially it has
5% after the approval. So it surged to like 48.6K. It dropped down to like 41K. So, and that was partly due to the overhang. But now BTC is, 65, whatever. So it's like ultimately everyone who bought the BTC ETF approval was in profit if they bought on the ETF. Which I'm not saying that's the same thing that's going to happen to ETH, but I mean, I think it's something to keep in note.
No, I definitely did not know that. That's probably good to know. For me, I was just seeing it as it would somewhat downtrend and then somewhat
totally.
uptrend. That's just me making it very basic. You know, a lot of my trades that I put into, I don't go too super in depth or super into levels. I kind of just pay attention. My biggest thing is strength. What's showing strength? Where are people making money? That's always my biggest thing. So look, the ETH inflow started doing good. A lot of these ETH charts look really good. I mean, I'm open to it. I'm open to ETH season. You know, I'm not hating it. I'm wherever money's to be made, wherever the inflows are good, I'll be there.
On God, strength is strength until proven otherwise.
Yeah, I can't wait to have like my friends. I can't wait to have like my friend's grandpa ask me like, "Hey, what's this?"
I'm selling. If you tell me that, I'm selling. I'm leaving.
Let's see. I've had a couple ask me.
My financial advisor is trying to tell me to buy this Ethereum thing. What do you think? You're into that? Have we talked about on the podcast what you tell people when they ask about crypto? Have we talked about that? I think
on like the first episode. We can go back over though.
We did.
Yeah, we did like first or second episode.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? Right.
Yeah. I don't want to get too deep into it, but if people are really like interested, I basically tell them that they're doing themselves a disservice by not paying attention to it and trying to learn about it, because even if they don't, they're going to be forced to in the future.
I tell them
it's going to impact your life no matter what. So get involved, bro.
No, they just ask me what to buy, and I say F off politely.
Yeah, I don't want that responsibility. I've tried that with my friends. You should buy this, and then they just fucking ask me questions all day, every day. Why is this coin down like 1 cent? Like I put $100 in, it's worth 99.
Especially
wait till you lose 20K or 30K, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, bro, chill out. I have 50 grand in this. I'm down 5K. It's gonna go up.
That's another thing that's so unserious about this space is just the swings we handle. Cause it's like a game to us, right? Like it's internet money, and I don't think we realize all the time how much money we're actually like. You feel like 10 SOL at something, dude. That's over $1,000, and it's like you just don't. It just doesn't mentally compute that way.
No, my favorite thing is when I see people say, I think I saw Sensu in his channel the other day. He's like, "All right, how much SOL is 3 ETH?" And like the majority of people were wrong.
Funny,
They just have no clue. Like I remember early.
Honestly, I still have trouble with that, dude. I still think that it's like weirdly ingrained in my brain that I still can't do that, even if I know the number. I still think like 10 SOL isn't that much, but it's a lot of money, bro.
Yeah, because like I mean,
Yeah.
FTX happened, so it was literally like $5-10. So it's
Yeah,
like
I still feel
I
like
was
this is
trading
like some
NFTs
paper. I feel like
post
I'm paper trading,
FTX.
but I'm losing money or I'm making a lot.
Exactly. Soul was crazy like that.
It's just
Something
like
about the speed
I'll
too
never
almost makes it feel
understand.
cheaper.
Yeah, but one thing I will say, and it's just, I guess I'm in a lot of just old ETH head groups, I guess, and they'll talk a lot of bad stuff about Sol, and they'll just say how like, oh, okay, I made some Sol, let me transfer it over to ETH, and
Right.
I just can't comprehend it. I just can't. I really can't
So you made money
because
on Soul,
they,
and
they,
then you're
they
going to the place where you didn't make money.
yeah, I was asking questions to this one guy here today, and he was talking trash on Sol, and I was like, okay, at the end of the day, why are you here? Why are you in this space? To make money, correct? Where are most people making money? What are the most CAs being posted in the chat? What has more volume? What is bringing more success? The answer was Sol to all of them, other than the very select few people on ETH. And when I say select people, I'm talking like Rec. Okay, that's just a whole different ball game. That's a whole different lane.
That man is ETH.
You know,
Jesus.
I couldn't do what Rec does, but I feel like Rec could probably easily come over to Sol and do what all of us do. It's just a lot easier. And yeah, I'll never understand the Sol hate. I'll never comprehend it.
It's
And then
just
the biggest
coke,
thing
bro.
was the people. Yeah, and then also the biggest thing was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna move all of my Sol back over to ETH, and I'm like, why? Do you have a reason why? What's the reason there? Because
I
I
think
know it
people
ain't
just-
like relative strength wise or price wise. I know it ain't that.
I think it's almost comfortability because, like, if, like, for me, let's say I got started on ETH. All I ever held for like a year was ETH. All I ever traded with was ETH. So it's almost like a familiar, homely feeling. Like, you know, if you're all in ETH, even if the price is doing awful, you're just like, oh, this feels familiar. You know, I feel at home here. And I think that's something you just have to really be conscious of, like this internal bias that you have towards a coin, even if you're technically not even participating that much on the chain. Like, a lot of people had that against Sol, right? Even when it was the strongest coin in the market after the FTX unlocks happened and it spiked all the way to $200 or whatever. Like, people were still just hating on it despite it being the strongest coin for like 6 solid months. And I think as you grow your port, you have to be able to. I mean, when you're starting out, I think it's fine to just denominate yourself in one coin and focus on stacking that coin. Maybe take some out to USDC, whatever. But as your port grows, you got to really be conscious of your spot holdings as well, and then you almost play 2 games at once.
Yeah, the game definitely changes as you level up. Mm-hmm. Like if I mean, we were talking earlier about people with smaller portfolio values playing pumped up fun stuff to try to like build their port up, and as it grows, it continues to change, and it will continue to as you hit 6 figs, multiple 6 figs, cross over 7 figs. The impact of what you do or even what you don't do just becomes greater and greater. When I say what you don't do, if you chill in spot and the market dumps, like, you could stable, bro, and then buy back in the lows and make a fuck ton of money. So yeah, the game is constantly evolving.
Someone just slammed 515 Sol into smoking chicken fish.
Shut the fuck up about that coin, please.
Nice. That's good for the flying spaghetti monster.
I have just a spiritual connection towards this coin.
There you
I
go,
don't
fud it out.
think I can.
That's another point. Don't let other people fudge you out of your bags. If you have conviction, don't let anybody else shake that. You can hear
To
out
the
other
person
people's
that fudged-
opinions, but ultimately, you got to listen to yourself. Like, at a certain point, I fudded out Anon out of bags. He's fudded me out of bags. I'm not the one who fudded him out of SCF. Please don't.
I think it's
come at
so
me.
funny. I think it's so funny that you call him Anon. Like, I always call him like Anon. That's how you say the word, right? Anonymous.
West Coast
or
versus
do you
East
say
Coast,
anonymous?
maybe? I don't know. I say
Maybe.
Anon.
But when you say
anonymous?
Anon, it makes me think, like, my mind, your mind
Anonymous?
processes stuff you're hearing so quickly. When you say it that way, I think you're about to say anal.
Pause.
Anal on.
Ain't a
Anyways,
lot.
I'm
I
very
know
sorry, but
I know we're getting close to like our time, but we had a topic
we yapped a little bit with it started, so we got
yeah.
more time.
We had a topic we wanted to cover that you listed out to talk about drama with Mew. Should we cover that? What's the drama,
Yeah,
bro?
I guess we can talk about it. The drama was basically people were saying that Coles were getting paid
Coles.
to shill it.
Who cares though?
Uh,
It was okay. This is
I mean,
my
do
take
do
on
we,
it.
I wouldn't be
do we even
surprised.
want to talk about Coles? Do we want to talk about Coles?
No, I don't want. We talked about that at plenty. But okay, let's take this for
exhausting.
example. It was a coin on centralized exchange, Binance, perps on Bybit, everything, and it 2x'd in like 2 days from 400 mil to like 800 plus. So it's like even if said KOLs were paid to push it, man, like it was still the strongest coin for like 4 days in a row. Koreans were bidding in on Updit. So it's at a certain point, do you want to be right or do you want to make money? And I'm not saying you have to compromise your own morals or you have to shill stuff yourself or take paid gigs yourself. But it's going to happen regardless. I'm not saying it actually happened. I have no idea. I know some of them, you guys. I think they're Chads. But ultimately, like, man, price went up, and you either made money or you didn't. So it's like, I feel like at a certain point, you just get numb to it, right?
I don't think there's too much drama to talk about that coin, unless you have more.
Oh my
to
god!
it.
Like I think it was overblown. Frankly, it was strong. It did well on. It did well. I mean, it went up like 2x for a centralized exchange coin.
Yeah.
People made a ton of money longing it. Who cares?
I mean, to me, that a coin like that is just annoying as shit because like that shit spawned in and went to like what, like 700-800 mil off the rip. Like, I mean, it was clearly insider shit and not easy for the common person to catch. So like for me, I see that I'm like, all right, next, and then you see all your KOLs and Telegram callers that either have bags or got gifted bags or got paid relentlessly call it for months, and it's like, all right, bro, stop yapping. I'm not buying that unless I'm going to put in like $100 grand. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, you could have made a lot of money on that.
On that certain point, but also like, then there's no need to go on Twitter and shit on it, though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm
yeah,
not gonna
just
shit on
don't buy
For
it.
me, it's just like go next.
yeah, just don't
GG,
buy
go
it.
next.
You're fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll move on to the next coin, but I don't need to actively like demonize it on Twitter because I know other people that like I'm friends with have huge bags in it. So I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. I hope it does well for you. Like,
Okay, I have I'm going to pivot this convo. I have a really interesting thing for us to talk about. Let me present this. I was talking in a small group that I'm in earlier about the $2 million buy that we saw on Mumu that I mentioned earlier. That guy like clipped out
Whiff.
like 2.2 mil of whiff into Mumu. Ultimately, the buy that hit Mumu was like around 2 mil or something ish. I mean, the guy hit crazy price impact and whatnot. And
it went to like
the value,
800 mil for him.
yeah, like the value that he got in Mumu coins at the time was like 1.7, 1.8. I don't know. Like, don't quote me on the numbers, but the reality is his price impact was insane. It was a really stupid trade. But in this group, there was this guy that said to me, he said that he thinks it was a marketing ploy, and he actually kind of sold me on the idea. Most people wouldn't think this way, and even people like in Hideout when we were talking about it earlier, were just like saying this guy's an idiot. I don't care if 50x is that guy's a dumbass, but what this guy mentioned was that like it's an incredible marketing ploy because one, it creates FOMO. People are like, fill the wick. It's like a whole rallying thing. Like new buyers jump in. Like this is the next whiff, the next Pepe, like whatever. But you say like the price impact is insane. That guy lost money. But think about it like this: what if there's like a group of 5 people, 8 people, 10 people that are large holders of the coin that come together and say, okay, this one guy that's part of our group is going to make this trade, swap his whiff over, take the price impact, but collectively we're all going to make like 15 mil if that wick fills. We'll pay out his price impact and cover his profit, and we're all going to make millions ourselves. To me, that's insanely big brain and incredible market manipulation. I didn't think of it that way, but that's like nuts, and I don't think most people are thinking about it like that. What do you guys think about that?
I think
I don't know.
I think with Mumu, it was kind of what you said. I think the whiff one wasn't because that was deemed to be like some stupid hedge fund or something that probably wasn't on chain that much. Because what I'm speaking about is the same thing happened with WIF back when it was like 100 mil or something. Some hedge fund just like put like I forget how much SOL it was. It was crazy. And then there was the whole fill the wick movement. So I think it's kind of come like a trend if you have a rich team to create that kind of wick, because it is fun. I mean, like you open the chart and there's this massive wick, and it makes the chart look not as imposing, right? Because like, yeah,
I guess a better question. I guess there's two important questions here, and they're both like kind of yes or no. The first one is, one, do you think that wick gets filled on Mumu? And the second is, do you think that theory that I laid out that this guy presented to me, do you think that holds any water as a possibility from like a marketing ploy strategy for a collective group of people and holders to
I
make
think
money?
It's possible, but whether or not it's true is not for us to say in any realm.
We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know.
Do you think that wick fills though? That's a good question.
I don't know. I'm not too good with like the derivs like that, like Mumu, Snibu, all those like weird Pepe group friend. I don't know, Bobo. Like I'm not good with those. I'm not good with derivatives, frankly.
Me either.
I think Solstice or whoever is pushing Mumu is doing a good job. I'll say that. The coin's been strong. It seems to have a different holder base than the average degen in my chats. Like I don't actually see that much chatter about it. So I think he's done a better job, like onboarding maybe normies or maybe people who are on Twitter more than Telegram, because there is divides. You'll see like with culture, like smoking chicken fish, I feel like is a pretty Telegram heavy coin, at least for the start of its life, just because it's so degenerate, it's so off the chain. Whereas I feel like that isn't always as resonated with on Twitter. A little bit more tame memes, a little bit. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just interesting psychology of the markets, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. Just another day to me.
Just another day.
How about
one thing I will say, I'm just so used to this. I don't know.
How about this topic? There was a teaser put out by Wizard of Soho yesterday. Like, there's this new coin coming out this week. I don't know. I can't say what chain. Apparently, there's a $200 million hedge fund behind it.
It might be Simon's Cat though, because the Token 5 Floki one launching on BNB. I think that's
it was a fucking broke coin that came out today.
Oh, well, it was that. Okay, because the Simon's Cat one is actually that. I mean, that's an interesting topic. That one's gonna cook because that's Token 5.
I don't know anything about that coin.
That one's backed by BNB.
You'll have to tell me about
that one's actually backed by like Binance, which is crazy. So that one.
What's it called?
Simon's Cat meme. It's
Simon's
based off
Cat.
the comic that was really popular, kind of like Garfield.
That's coming out this week.
Being launched by TokenFi, which is owned by Floki, and then it's backed by Binance. Like
late
literally.
August.
Is it a fair launch pre-sale? What is it?
Fair launch in quotations, right? Like,
yeah, right. Okay.
Obviously, we're not going to be able to get in early.
There will be a pre-sale. I believe it's whales that own a lot of Floki or
TokenFi.
Token.
Mm-hmm.
Token. I think
ticker
it's
token.
just to whales only.
Speaking of pre-sales, I heard that little
be interesting.
Cocktua is coming out with one.
Hell no, bro.
She really?
That meme is like for Facebook people, I swear.
Bro, she really dropped
she-
out of her
she's
job
a-
and everything.
She's apparently
to
at
be
the
relevant for
Bitcoin
like a year.
conference right now, dude.
She had bodyguards
She really?
at the Bitcoin conference. I'm like, ain't
Yeah,
nobody
she-
knows you are like that, bro. Like, you should walking around with 4 bodyguards at the Bitcoin
She was
conference.
she was on a crypto podcast this week, like a couple days ago or something, and
She's speedrunning the pipeline.
There's rumors right now that she is gonna have like an official coin, but it's gonna have a pre-sale. I'm just hoping that your favorite KOLs are not gonna be fucking coordinating that. It's destined to not do well. And also, we've seen the post this week, specifically today, about how badly the celebrity coins have gone. But apparently she is at the Bitcoin conference, because I saw like the Thread guy video and that other guy that's like trying to make a name for himself, saying he wants to like try to meet or fucking Robert F. Kennedy and Donald Trump Jr. and the Hawk Tuah girl. Like, apparently she's there. And I would imagine it's like part of this whole idea of like her maybe launching a coin. I'm not saying it's confirmed, but that's the rumor.
So
Would you buy into the pre-sale?
I DM her.
No.
No.
Damn.
Oh, damn it.
Because like, okay,
Then you're
the
never
problem with that
gonna
though,
invite-
then you're never
NRV,
getting
is
the Hawk Tua, bro.
there was a Hawk Tua coin that ran to like 20-30 mil. So it's like, at what point?
It wasn't official though, dude.
Okay, but like, how much of that price has already been discovered arbitrarily before it even happens to be the official one? Because I think a lot of people will be like, "Oh, I already made money on a Hawk Tua coin. I'm good." Like, and I could be mid curving that, but like, frankly, I just don't like propagating D tier celebrity coins.
You don't like propagating Hawk Tua? Damn, that's crazy, bro.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. The coin and the ideals, two different things, right?
True.
Brother, I'm just trying to get her in the DMs.
Bro.
We're getting her on the pod.
That would be quite the thing.
You're
Speaking
saying,
of people on the
saying
pod,
there's a chance.
we got a fun one
I'll
for you
let-
next week. I'm not going to leak it
I'll
here.
let you guys work on that. I got no business DMing that girl. She's young.
I'm not DMing that girl. Ain't on you can have that.
How old is she?
She's like
I don't
21,
know.
dude.
How,
20.
oh
21,
God!
maybe.
I thought
22,
you were
something
gonna
like
say like under 18. Jesus,
Definitely not.
like no shot.
I don't think she'd be able to do anything.
No
this
shot.
pod.
This pod took a turn.
Yeah, what's going on here, guys? Like,
I guess it's my
Hey,
fault.
might have to cut this
Sorry.
ending part out. Actually,
Sorry.
Hey, I'm extremely sorry. There was a Hawk 2 coin that like ran to like 18 mil. All right, that's not my problem. Okay, the market doesn't decide what I do. Wait, the market does decide what I do.
We need a minion meme coin on Solana for the Facebook moms. That'll be the apex. that thing would run to like 200 mil. Just the Bitcoin moms Venvoing $40 and whatever. Buy that.
Dude, I feel like when some of these meme coins come out, I feel like I'm so far, not like so far, but like crypto moves so fast. I feel like I'm just out of the loop on a lot of
Boomer.
fucking zoomer shit, bro. Yeah, I'm a boomer.
I mean, I'm the
you
youngest
know
here,
that.
and I'm on TikTok
bro,
all the
like
time.
the fucking
so.
Brat Summer coconut shit. I'm like, bro, I'm not on TikTok. I don't
The
see that
kabooty-
shit, dude.
The kabooty, bro.
I don't see any of that. People are like, oh, from the coconut tree. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Shit's at like 6 mil. Sick, dude.
Yeah,
Missed that one.
shout out the yard, best Zoomer group I'm in. Shout out Aztec and the gents in there. They're absolutely locked in with the memes. Yeah, Kabooty, man, that's just such a coin, you know. It's the
do not need
graphics
to
for that coin are
If
just.
anyone doesn't know what
I
that
need
is,
to
don't
zoom in, bro.
research into that, please. Like, for the love of
Give me
God,
that
don't
TikTok
research
alpha
into that.
zoomer.
Still impeccable.
Don't go
right.
into that coin.
How much time do we have?
We have no time. It's been an hour and 10.
Overtime.
Well, we taught.
Okay,
Are we
ending
done?
it off, boys. We got someone cool next week. It'll not be as degenerate as this one. Hopefully,
Actually, yeah, we
There was
have
good
a-
info.
it was good.
Yeah,
Oh, this was a great podcast.
This was an important pod. This was an important
Chatter with the
pod.
boys. We haven't
Eventful
had one
week.
of these in a while.
We do have a sick guest coming next week. I think when we look for guests, we obviously want really interesting people, but I like the one that we had with Shady recently because his perspective was like way different from a lot of people that we've had on before with airdrop farming and being an absolute internet troll. But the guy we have lined up for next week, I think, is going to be super interesting perspective, an OG in the space, a builder who has some sick shit coming out apparently, but we'll see. You guys can listen to that next week.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we will. Well, alrighty. I'll probably wrap it up. Thank y'all for listening. Peace.
Kabooty.
Miggles.